You open it up the same way?
Yeah. So, hi and welcome back to our video series on bike fitting conversations with Curtis.
Yeah.
I've just called it that now officially.
I like it. Yeah, that sounds good.
So today we're kind of continuing our conversation on time trialing related and triathlon related equipment, and we've landed on extension shapes and sizes, I guess, today. I guess independent of arm pads, because we don't have any arm pads, but that's maybe a whole new video we can talk about down the line.
We can.
Before we go there, this is what we're on about, just different shapes of these bad boys.
It's all about the shape.
It's all about the shape for the application. And I think that this bleeds nicely into almost, if you can liken equipment sometimes to an enabler in a bike fit.
Yeah.
That's how I like to think about it. These shapes can enable comfort in your hand, or if you get the right shape, it can enable an aerodynamic position, or it can really just enable a lot of pain and discomfort.
It can, absolutely.
I don't know if you've got any sort of golden nuggets of information for anyone out there who is really looking to try and work out a way of finding the right extension for their position.
Well, like with saddles, the discussion we just had, which was worth checking out, it's the position is so dependent upon the person and the goal. So like with saddles, being able to put different ones in your hands can make a big difference. And so A, it's very person dependent. B, I would say it's position dependent. The reach and the drop can make a difference. But if I was going to overarch it, like so many things with bike fit, comfort can very much drive biomechanics, and biomechanics can drive everything from power to even aerodynamics. So when it comes to comfort, if you get a position where you're too ulnarly deviated, your wrist is pointed down too much and your thumb is straight, if you get a position that's too tipped down, too many times that starts to jack the elbow up and the shoulder up. And when the shoulder gets jacked up, it makes it hard to either A, drop your head, which is very important for aerodynamics, or just for your neck to stay comfortable. So making sure that the wrist can be in a somewhat neutral position, a la like a handshake position. And now it can be tipped down, it can be tipped down even a little bit more, but for me, that would be way too much. And this is gonna cause some neck and shoulder discomfort. Unlike, again, for me, if this, of course, came back to where my thumb was, that's gonna be a much more comfortable, and then very, very much a biomechanics would be better here. And don't forget what happens at one end of the biomechanical chain not only changes the local biomechanics in the neck, can very much drive thoracic mobility, lumbar, and your whole stability on the bike. So a handshake position, something that allows you to be relaxed in your neck and shoulders, so that way you can really drop into those elbow pads as opposed to being enabled into a poor position.
And do you, so then just to clarify a point there, you think that even something as simple as your hand position can compromise power?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've seen it, honestly.
On the pedals?
Yes, on the pedals.
Yeah.
I change aero positions, and I'm looking at power without anybody else, without looking at it, and we change it, and then we look down at pedal pressure, pedal forces, way people are sitting on saddles, and I see this change saddle stability and power at the pedals. And particularly with longer events. The longer the event gets, the more these start to, I love your word, enable you or pull you into a position that you just can't maintain stability through your core and thus produce power in your legs.
This, I mean, I think just on that note then, if I was doing my first Ironman and I was really concerned about just being comfortable, then I'm struggling to look past either the Zip Illumina, the VUCA Illumina extension really allows me to get my hand really nice, and then also this profile design 4525A. I mean, I just like, I mean, I'm never going to get into an Alpha Mantis style shrug, but I don't think that I would want to necessarily always be in that position if I was super concerned about comfort and I was just thinking about getting around a day. But then that all just boils down to, and I think it's important not to lose track of what you want to be achieving out of your bike fit.
Very cool.
But I think one of the, maybe if I just pull a name in here, Andy Friccione, is that the right way of pronouncing it? You've worked with him in the past.
A couple of different times,
And if I was super concerned about getting faster aerodynamically, is there a point at which there's any crossover between maybe ulnar extension? Is that what
yeah, deviation, if you will. Yeah,
and I guess like that super shrugged aerodynamic position that a lot of people strive to achieve, especially you know, time trialists, for instance, who don't give a hoot about the UCI rules.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've got any insight for me there.
Yeah, I think the best answer to that, and I think Chris Yu, who works at the Specialized Wind Tunnel, him and I have lectured together some. Chris would say, Paul Check as well would say, if you're not assessing, you're guessing. And so when it comes to figuring out what's the best aerodynamic position, the question you asked me, are you better here, are you better here, are you better here, is I have no freaking clue until we get you on in a way where we can assess not only your frontal surface area, which sometimes lower is better, sometimes not. But more importantly, or just as importantly, your coefficient of drag. Because you might have a better shape when you're here and have a worse shape when you're here, even though it looks better down here.
Yeah.
So I have no freaking clue is the best answer to that question. And you really have to get on Alpha Manta's system or set in a wind tunnel for a while to figure out what's the best CD coefficient of drag and frontal surface area to know that. Because even if I didn't care at all about comfort, and so many times my clients don't, you know, I want to win the Tour de France, and this 5-10K TT time trial is what matters. Forget I'm gonna have a little neck discomfort at the end of it, whatever. But even if I didn't care about comfort, I really want to see someone set in a wind tunnel to be able to validate A versus B. And if I don't have that, then I almost always come back to what's my best biomechanics, which I can test here, and what feels the most comfortable.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's really interesting, and I don't know if I'm just always so blown away by what you say that I can't really think of anything else to add, but I'm almost kind of quite happy there. And I think a couple of takeaways would really be working out what your goals are for your arm position. And I think actually maybe as my mind kind of continues to kind of wander with this is I guess it is important where your elbow sits on your pad.
Yes.
So, you know, a really nice thing you can do to work out where your extension needs to be is almost loosen off the fastening at the back of the pad.
Nice.
Get your elbow nice and comfortable and move these back and forward till you can find, you know, this hand position and your shifters where you want them to be.
The shifters should be at your thumb.
Yeah. Here. So there's this one here. Yeah. This DI2. So I've got this one. Where is that pad in relation to this, so I can make sure I can relax into a position that's going to allow me to still reach the shifters. I mean, I think that's an important thing to bring up. I don't know if that's super specific to equipment, but I think when you're trying to keep everything in mind, I think it's that combination of a nice supportive arm pad, which is another video, and I don't know, a nice supportive or a nice enabling like hand position. To really sort of take your fit wherever you want it to go, really.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that might be a nice place to...
A nice way to pause it. And watch our next one, which is going to be on some of the basics of the front end fit of a TT bike. If you're interested in, you know, where should the elbow be relative to the pad and where should your thumb be relative to the shifter, we're just going to do a quickie on that to follow this.
Cool.
Nice. You want to just jump right into that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Because that's probably a shorter one, and it's what I would